Well, it's been 13 years since Israel unilaterally withdrew from the Gaza Strip, a decision that at the time proponents hoped would lead towards a lasting peace. But today, with no end in sight for the bloodshed and violence, many are taking a hard look back at the 2005 disengagement from Gaza, and they're wondering if this was indeed the right course of action. Here now with a retrospective look at this is Major General Gershon Hacohen, a senior research fellow at the Begin-Sadat Center for Strategic Studies. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you. Just 13 years ago, I was a division commander, responsible to this awful enterprise.
Wow.
That day, the day after Tisha B'Av, was the beginning.
Wow. So take us back. What was the atmosphere like leading up to that big decision from up top to disengage? Because of course there was huge debate in Israeli society about it, but in the military field.
But we must look upon that occasion not about memories, but just looking to the present and to the future. Because actually, it doesn't matter what I thought that day, because I was from those who tried to convince that it will be really not a hope after we will really accomplish the withdrawal, because I was sure that everything that will emerge is not peace.
Right.
But right now, after 13 years, I must say, thanks God that it happened. Why? Because the Israelis and the world, the international community, can get empirical two models to compare which one is better, not only to Israelis, but to the human rights of Palestinians. We can just ask where the Israeli forces are more effective, in Judea and Samaria, that we are still there, or in Gaza, that we made an absolute withdrawal and we designed the space in a way that it is now divided to here and there. So three main premises collapse. These three premises have been promised by Ehud Barak, by Ariel Sharon, and all those that promoting the idea that it will lead to great stability. And all these three premises just collapse in empirical experience.
Sure.
The first one was that the idea that the American ambassador Martin Indig liked to use, good fences making good neighbors. It is good between John and Smith in Arizona, going to the same church on Sunday. It is not at all the situation here, because what we can realize that the good fence that the Israelis build, just protecting the Hamas and not the Israelis, because by this protection of the fence and the border, they succeeded to build well-formed military organization with battalion, brigades, well-trained soldiers, asset of rockets, infrastructure to build them, etc. So this premise collapsed. The second premise was that IDF is so powerful that it will be not at all a challenge if it will be demanded that
to go in and
we will react against them.
Well, look, that's
what we are just observing now, that they are really succeeding to create a challenge, not because IDF is weak, not at all, because strategical considerations. Not every day the IDF could create a huge operation, and also huge operation in that situation, leading to a very great destruction and a lot of casualties, even among the non-involved persons. So again, I'm asking where we can find better situation for human rights in Judea and Samaria, that if IDF entering that night to Nablus, it is more or less ending without casualties, of course without armor, without air force, or in Gaza. So this premise collapsed. The last premise was that after the Israeli will accomplish the withdrawal, the Israelis will have absolute legitimation, international legitimation to use their force. And what we are just observing, that we are yet criticized and Hamas and the Palestinians, not everywhere, but still in a lot of public opinion, they are considered to be the victims and not the Israelis. So these three premises that collapse, leading us to the future to understand that the situation that we are leading today in Judea and Samaria must sustain, not to make two-state solution to the borders of 67. This is the lesson.
Well, I've got to ask, because, you know, just a few days ago, the IDF lost a soldier on the Gaza border. That's the first time that's happened since 2014. Yesterday, or in the last 48 hours anyway, a teenage Palestinian boy in the West Bank was shot during a raid. So there's violence on both sides still happening.
Yes, but just look about the whole outcome, how it is organized in Judea and Samaria. In the Judea and Samaria, in every day there is prosperity because more than 100,000 working in Israel, bringing salaries. And from time to time, there is a kind of protest, but it is not comparable to what's going on in Gaza.
Sure. No, I agree
not
with
at
you.
all
There's
comparable, and beyond that, we must understand that speaking about sovereignty is not at all a question about how many lost their life, because after 3 months, that more than 50,000 dunam just born in the west-north Negev surrounding Gaza. Where is Israeli sovereignty to protect the border? How many investment the Israelis must pay in order to protect themselves? Beyond that, how many hours of decision makers, government, are just demanded due to the problem in Gaza and compared to the situation in Judea and Samaria?
Sure.
Questions are decided at the headquarters of division, not every night to come to the cabinet, to the government.
One last quick question, although this is, of course, deeply complex. Given your insight and experience, specifically in Gaza, there's no going back now. So what should be done now, in your opinion, in Gaza? You can't send soldiers back in. So we have disengaged. So
First of all, the situation is like that. We don't want, really, it is not in Israeli interest to conquest again Gaza and to control Gaza. Because if we are speaking about the lessons we can learn from the battle in Mosul, for example, it took 9 months and great destruction. So
yeah, it was wiped out.
Whether
Families,
we want that,
wiped
and
out as well.
the day after, we don't want to be those who are giving Gaza as a present to Abu Mazen with paying with our own blood, with our own soldiers' blood. So it is not our interest, but we must emphasize they are behaving in a way that they are realizing our constraints and trying to exploit them and pushing us to a way that we will not have any other choice but to come to invade and to destroy them absolutely, because they are demanding that. And if they will not stop themselves, we will find ourselves in doing that, because we can do that.
Sure.
We don't want that. Beyond that, what to do with Gaza? They must get a lot of investment by international community and Egypt in order to reshape the humanitarian situation, to deliver jobs. It could be in Sinai. Not everything must depend upon Israel. Today, they are getting Israeli electricity, Israeli water, Israeli food. Without Israelis, they are really starving.
Sure. Well, Major General, thank you so much. This is obviously very complex, but your insight is always appreciated. Really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Of course.